What it do, what it do, what it do out there. You already know I am, because we are. What's that? Hey, check this out. You already know. If you don't know by now, you know, I don't do so much greetings and things like that, but you know what I'm saying. You know, I'm just trying to pass the frequency, you know what I mean? Message is what's important, not the messenger. Acceptance is what is important, not the greeting. Nevertheless, you know it's all power to you. About these choices, you know, we continue to think that we must make a choice. You know what I'm saying? We must make a choice between everything we know esoterically, religiously, spiritually. We must make a choice. We must place all of our thought faculties in a manner to pick between what has been placed in this box for you to pick. What has been individually wrapped, packaged by the FDA or the CIA or the FBI or the whatever these alphabet soup titles corporate fictions want to, you know, put and place in front of you. You seem to feel necessary to pick something. I must be a Christian. I have to be a Muslim. Anything esoteric. I'm going with the Orishas. I just learned Yoruba. Things of this nature. Making choices. Making a choice. Well, let's find out what happens when you make a choice. At the moment you make a choice, you have decided to place your energy and your trust in something that stands by itself, operates alone, has no source energy, but is supplied by source energy. Choice is the deception. You are God, experiencing yourself. Why are you making a choice in a box? You are in a box. You created this box for your experiments. You are doing this only because you have chosen to. This will resonate with those who understand that anytime you make a choice, you have made a decision to divide, to separate, to stagnate energy flow, to create a blockage somewhere in here. I want y'all to take a look at this, and I'm going to be going in and out, but pay attention to this one. Now I'm going to show it on this this phone here, though. I'm going to have to show it to you on this phone, but what's important is what you need to hear. Down here.
You're in this room today. I don't know you personally, but I know this about you. You have the courage to see the world in a different way. You have the strength to live your life in a different way. And this is very, very important. This is why we're here today. We're here today to do something very powerful. First of all, science tells us that the space in the emptiness of the universe is truly empty. And we know that that is not true. That the space between you and me and the space between the stars, they say, is empty. That's not true. Nothing could be further from the truth. Because there's something in that space. And that something is what gives us the power to heal our bodies and to bring peace to our world and to change this world if we understand the language to speak to that stuff that is in the emptiness. Science tells us there's nothing there, number one. Number two, science tells us that the inner experience in your heart, in my heart, that our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our prayers, our beliefs in our bodies have walks this earth. It's a language of no words. It's a language of human emotion. It's a language that was lost to Western traditions 1,700 years ago. But it's a language that has been remembered in ancient and indigenous traditions. These are false assumptions. There is something in the emptiness. There is no empty space. It is alive. It is pulsing. It is living. It is intelligent. There is a field of energy that holds everything together. And you and I are part of that field. What we're going to do today, the bottom line, we're going to share the science that tells us, number one, that the field is there. Number two, we're going to discover that our bodies and our world are the materialization of that field. From the unreal to the real, from the invisible to the visible, from the probability of quantum possibilities to the reality of our physical world. And number three, we'll find that the language of human emotion, the language you already know. Everyone knows this language. We're going to learn how to use this language to speak to this field, the divine matrix, in a way that is meaningful and useful in our lives. How many feel now that something really big is happening in our world today? Think something really big. Does the world feel different to you? Does it feel different? It's bigger than Iraq, bigger than George Bush, bigger than who knows. You feel that? It is. 2003, scientists published a report telling us that this is a time unlike any other time in the history of the earth or the history of humankind. What they say is this. They said there are 5 scenarios that are unfolding. 5 scenarios that are happening right now. And any one of those scenarios, if it goes to completion, could end our civilization, could end our world as we know it. If any one goes to completion, all 5 of them are happening right now. This is a time unlike any time in recorded human history. But the mystery is that no one knows how this time will end, because you and I are choosing that outcome right now. And we're doing it in ways that we're only beginning to understand through the new science that tells us that we are not victims of this world. You are not a victim of your world. You don't have to suffer and live in disease and grow old the way that we believed that science tells us. We don't have to use war to solve our problems. And we're living a time when all of those things come together right now. And what gives you and me the power to participate is the fact, and it is a fact, that this field of energy exists and that every one of you is speaking to this field every day. The question is, do you know what you're saying to the field? Do you know what you're saying? I'm going to share a story with you. It's a true story. It's a story of the birth of 2 baby girls, twins, and they were born prematurely, 7 weeks prematurely. And in the United States, there is a protocol, there is a practice. There is a practice in the United States when babies are born prematurely. The first thing they do is separate the babies. Now, can you imagine living in the womb of your mother for 6 or 7 or 8 months and living close to another being, your twin brother or your twin sister, and hearing the heartbeat of your mother every day and the heartbeat of your twin every day, and suddenly you're taken from that environment, and the first thing that happens is you're separated. and they put one twin, one premature baby in one incubator, and the second baby in a second incubator under the hot lights of the intensive care unit in the hospital. And immediately one of the little girls began to fail. Her vital signs began to drop. She was dying. There was a nurse who was working at the time. And the nurse said, "I must do something or this baby will die." She said, "I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to break the protocol." And she reached in, picked up the young baby that was dying. She took her into the intensive care unit with her sister, and you know where the story's going. You know what happened. She put the weaker girl in the incubator with the stronger girl. And immediately the stronger one reached out with her arm and placed her arm around the shoulders of her baby sister. And the minute she did that, the instant she did that, her sister's vital signs stabilized. And she got stronger and stronger and stronger, and they both lived. Okay, can you feel that feeling? Can you feel that? See, I can see you're holding your heart. Some of you have tears in your eyes. Why? That feeling is a language. That feeling is a power that lives inside of your body. If I had walked onto the stage and said, "Now, have that feeling," it may have been hard to do. But you saw an image that gave you a reason for that feeling. You're still crying. It's a powerful story. It's a powerful image. It's true. And the two girls lived, and they're doing very well today. That feeling is something that does not happen in your mind. It happens in your heart. The image and the story went directly to your heart. It bypassed your mind. It bypassed the filters. It bypassed the logic, the questions, the conditioning,
them choices,
the judgment. It was just a feeling. Today, modern science is beginning to understand that feeling that happens inside of our bodies has a direct effect on the stuff our world is made of, on the atoms and the molecules of our physical world. How many in this room like science? Well, this is fun science. The science we'll use to solve the problems that we're leaving in the world today. How much power do we really have to change our world, to change our lives, to change our bodies? How much power do you believe that we really have? The question that we're really asking is, who are we? Who are we? And this is the great mystery and the controversy in the language of science. Are we simply observers, passive observers in this universe, watching the world go by, or are we powerful creators? As our most cherished religious and spiritual traditions have always said, are we actually powerful creators that have forgotten how to use our power? Well, this is the great question that has been asked by scientists for 400 years. When I was in school in the 1970s, 1960s, I was taught that the universe began a long time ago and that we have come along relatively recently, and that we are essentially powerless specks of dust in the universe. And after we're gone, the universe will never know that we were here. That's what I was taught when I was in school. Does that sound familiar to you? That's one way of thinking. There is another way of thinking that says something very different. It says the universe began a long time ago. We have come along relatively recently. However, we are powerful creators that are changing our world and changing the universe as we live our lives. And this is the controversy of the scientists. A colleague of Albert Einstein was alive during his time and is still alive today. His name is Professor John Wheeler, Princeton University physicist. He's still with us today. John Wheeler says completely the opposite. John Wheeler says we could not even imagine a universe that did not contain us because, he says, it is the act of us observing the universe that makes the universe as it is. He said it is the act of us observing the world around us. He said that we're part of a universe that is not finished yet. John Wheeler says the universe is incomplete. He says that we are tiny specks, tiny patches of the universe looking at itself and building itself in what he calls a participatory universe. Participatory. I like that word. It means that we are not controlling the universe. We are not imposing our will upon the universe. We are participating, co-creating. The truth is that we may never find the smallest particle of matter. And we may never find the edge of the universe. Scientists build huge machines, cyclotrons, particle accelerators. And they take a little particle of matter and they accelerate it to the speed of light, almost. And they smash it into another particle so they can break it into many pieces, thinking that somewhere in there they will find the ultimate, smallest particle of matter. And they never find it. You know why? Because here's what happens. Every time they think they find the smallest particle, they look, and there's something else there. Something else is there. The reason that we will probably never find the smallest particle, and the reason that we will probably never find the edge of the universe, is because of what John Wheeler says. He says the act of us searching, the act of the human heart and the human mind looking at the universe, expecting to see something, will always create something for us to see. The act of us looking with the expectation that something is there is an act of creation unto itself. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
This is important. This is important to you. Think about this. I invite you to think about this. If looking with the expectation that something exists is what creates that something,
Let's go. Hold them up, Joe.
then what does it mean when you are conditioned to look at your body, to search your body every day or every week, looking for something to be wrong, looking for an abnormality, looking for a lump, looking for a discoloration? You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not saying don't look. What I'm suggesting is it's your consciousness while you are looking that is important. What happens if you look at your body in the mirror every day and you say, beautiful body? And that is an act of creation. Can you see how that is different than if you look in your body for a lump or something that should not be there? Does that make sense? Very, very powerful, what John Wheeler is saying. This is a scientist saying that consciousness is creating our physical universe. The question is, if discoveries suggest that the power to change our bodies and to change our world is based in what we call belief. Belief. Our belief of what is real. We live our lives based in what we believe.
It's got some buffering problems
About
with
our
the video.
world. Would you agree with
Chill
that?
out.
We live our lives based on what we believe about, about ourselves, our world, one another, our limitations, our capabilities. I was trained as a scientist. When I began to understand that we live our lives based upon our beliefs, my question is, where do those beliefs come from?
Belief systems.
And what I found is that those beliefs come from what other people tell us.
Uh-huh.
The beliefs come from what history tells us, what science tells us, what religion tells us, what our culture, what our family, our friends tell us. That's where our beliefs come
Esoteric
from.
knowledge.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, show.
So let me ask a question. What if they're wrong?
Yep, making them choices.
What if they're wrong?
Make them
What
choices.
if you and I are living our
It's a
lives
better way,
in the beliefs
Neo.
of other people who are incorrect?
Better way, Neo.
What does that mean for us?
Safe way.
How powerful do you think a belief really is? How powerful, truly? This is a story of a woman who lifted a car 20 times her body weight to free a person who was trapped underneath the car in an accident. You've heard stories like this. She freed this person. She went to the hospital with this person. She waited in the waiting room. The doctor came out and said, "This man will live because you lifted the car and saved his life." And when she heard the words that described what she did, she passed out. Unconscious. Because she had done something that even she couldn't believe. She wasn't thinking about it. All she said, "I just knew I had to get him free, and there was no one else around at the time." These are examples we see every day of a power within us. But they're rare examples. What if they become everyday examples? Miracles of belief. We ask the question, who are we? What we know is that we're made of quantum energy. You all have heard that we are quantum energy, yes? For 70 years, scientists have been telling us that we are little particles of quantum energy.
With the control of it all.
And now we believe them. But now scientists say those little quantum particles can do miraculous things, amazing things. Quantum particles, we know, can exist as a physical particle, like this. It's a quantum particle.
Now,
That
I'm gonna let y'all
particle
see
can
this.
exist invisible.
I'm gonna let y'all see this
The
close.
particle is still there. It has just changed its form. Quantum particles can exist in one
See how
place
that
in
look?
a moment in time.
Check it.
Quantum particles can exist in two places or many places at the same time, and they are always connected. They are always connected with one another. So the particles are always connected. Quantum particles can communicate with themselves in the past and in the future. This is very interesting. Scientists can take a quantum particle and they know everything there is to know about this particle. They know its rotation, its plus, its minus, its charge in the present. Now, okay, they can take it into the future, and now this is the past, this is the future. Okay, you okay so far? All right, now, they can change the particle now, and it changes what it had to be in the past.
Now
to
check this
get
out, Joe.
to now. They can change the particle in the present, and it changes the particle in the past, even though the past already happened.
Did you hear? Did you?
Very interesting. So the question is, we're made of those particles. So can we do what these particles can do? We're made of quantum particles. Are they showing us our limits, or are they showing us our possibility, our potential? What do you think? Are those quantum particles that we're made of showing us limitations or possibilities?
All
I think
possibilities.
so. I think so. And I think you'll see why.
So why
in
you
just a
betting
moment.
and making a
Can we
choice?
do everything that those particles can do? The answer is yes. If it's based on what we
Don't believe in yourself, God.
to be true.
You believe in somebody else. The matrix
Not
is control.
what we think in our minds. What we believe in our hearts.
You can't believe in
And that is a
yourself.
very
You
subtle,
study self, but don't believe in
very
self.
powerful difference. Not the mind, the heart. We're made of those particles. We are held together through a focus, a force. This is a clue. What is the force that holds our quantum particles together as our bodies? What is the force that begins with the letter C that holds all of the particles of your body together? What is that force called? Anyone? Okay, there it is. Consciousness. Consciousness. Very good. Some yes, some not so good. Consciousness is what holds these particles together. Consciousness organizes the particles into your body and into this world. 1944, the father of quantum theory, his name was Max Planck. Max Planck made this statement. He said, the stuff of our world does not exist the way we think it exists. Max Planck said, as a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about the atoms this much. There is no matter as such. What he's saying is the stuff that we're made of does not exist the way we believe it exists. He goes on to say,
Why are you following something? Why are you making
that
choices?
what we think is matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. He said there's a force out there that holds everything together in our bodies and in our world. He said we must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious mind, an intelligent mind. He said this mind is the matrix of all matter. This mind is the matrix of all matter.
You gotta
If
get
you saw
past the
the
matrix.
movie, The Matrix,
The most
this is
powerful.
where the movie was based from.
Or is it?
This information. The father of
Facts.
quantum theory, Max Planck, said that there is an energy, a field of energy that holds everything together, that this is not solid and we are not solid. Belief is the code that takes that field of energy, possibilities, and translates that field into the reality of this world. Belief is the code that
I know you say
translates
belief is a curse, but don't
possibilities
you're
reality
limiting
of
your
this world.
possibilities if you believe that.
Here's
I
what
was gonna stop it,
scientists say to us
but
about the way this
go ahead
world
and listen.
works.
Check it out.
Scientists are telling us now that in this field, all possibilities already exist in the quantum energy, in the soup of quantum possibility. All possibilities already exist. In the quantum possibilities, you are already healed. Peace has already happened. Joy is already everywhere. All of the greatest suffering, all of the greatest peace already exists in the quantum possibilities. And here's what they say happens with you and me. That with with our mind, we reach in to those possibilities. We imagine our healing. We imagine the peace. We imagine our perfect relationship. We imagine the abundance in our lives with our mind. And that's how we lock that possibility into place. And with our heart, we give that possibility life. We breathe life into the image of our mind through the feeling in our heart and make it real in our world. I'm going to share with you the science of how this happens. We have to understand what a belief is. We talk about belief. What is a belief? Belief is the marriage. It is a union of thought and emotion. Thought and emotion. And now we have to define thought and emotion. This is an image from an ancient Sanskrit text. It shows the energy centers of the body, the chakras. I know you all are familiar with chakras. They say that thought happens in the upper chakras, right here. This is thought. This is where we imagine the quantum possibility. The emotion happens in the creative center, in the lower chakras. This is emotion. And they say our emotions are only two: love, fear.
Two.
Love and the opposite of love. So when we think a thought in our mind, we fuel that thought. We give our thought life through the love or the fear that we place into the thought. And when we do that, we create a feeling. And now we have a definition for feeling. Feeling is the union, the marriage of emotion and thought. What we think of a possibility and our love or our fear of that thought. Does that make sense? Is that good? This is important because we're going to use this. Does this make sense? Okay? What is the one energy center in the body that does not have the circle? What is the one center that we have not talked about here? Precisely, the heart. Feeling happens in our heart. Feeling doesn't happen in the mind. Feeling doesn't happen in the lower, well,
So that mind trying to get you to pick the right choice.
Feeling happens in our heart. Feeling
It's not about
and
what's here.
belief
It's about what's
are
here.
connected. Feeling and
But
belief.
let's go
So
a little
in
bit
our hearts,
stronger, a
we
little bit
have
deeper.
hate, sadness, joy, compassion. These are feelings. These are not emotions. To have hate, sadness, joy, compassion, we must have a thought, and then the love or the fear for that thought that creates these feelings. So now we have a definition of feeling. Feeling is the union of thought and emotion. So our belief translates the quantum possibilities that we imagine into the physical reality of our world. And I want to show you how. I want to show you how that happens. I don't want you just to believe me, to take my word. I want to show you the proof so your mind can see.
See, this knocks out a lot of this Anunnaki, Naga, this, that belief systems that they got you thinking.
Those possibilities
Basics.
into the atoms of
Listen.
our world. The quantum
Talking about
possibility
nuclear,
exists as waves
atomic,
only.
we're right here.
But this world is made of atoms. So I think you're going to like what you're going to see.
Now,
Do you
oh
remember
yeah,
a long
check
time
this
ago,
out.
when I was in school, and maybe when you were in school, we were told that
This
the
is shit.
atom looks like this. Looks like a little solar system. Long time ago, remember? And we were taught that the atom is made of things. A thing in the center and things that orbit, things that circulate.
See, had our mind somewhere else, right?
That's not what scientists believe today.
Right.
Now the
Check
atom
this.
they believe looks like this.
Whoa.
It looks like energy.
Whoa. What?
The atom no longer looks like...
That's what the atom look like.
It looks like...
That's what your ass look like.
...waves of energy rather than particles of things.
Come again? Yeah, you heard.
This is very important. You're going to see why. I think you will like what you're going to see in just a moment.
Yeah.
So just work with me.
Where they put all that knowledge at, man?
So the
It's what
quantum
you
atom
conceiving.
is made of waves of
Wait a
energy
minute.
rather...
I gotta stop that right here, all right? It's what you conceiving, okay? It's what you are conceiving. How can you be free? Look, the matrix is about control. When you say you this, you say you that, you up a form of control, but you got to study and find out something about it. How can you be free under control? How can you be sovereign if you're controlled? How can your mind be free if you're told any damn thing? Come again? It's not about, see, I can plant my feet, I can touch every damn tree I can, and I still won't get the knowledge that anyone got if they looking in textbooks. If you're trying to direct me through a textbook, then you are being controlled and you don't know it yet. Okay?
than particles of things, and this is very important. This is very important. If you want to change an atom, you have to change the energy that the atom lives in. If you want to change the stuff, the physical stuff of our world, you must change the energy that that stuff exists within. Is that okay? Is it good?
Oh, sure.
Does that make sense to you? You okay with that? Okay. We're going slowly because something big is about to happen here. Einstein said this very well. Einstein actually said the field that connects everything together is what he called the governing agency of the particle. Einstein said the field is what determines how the atom behaves. It's in the field. The sole governing agency is what Albert Einstein said. So the field that we're talking about, the field is made of electrical energy.
Check it out.
It's made of magnetic energy. Two energies. The field that holds everything together. This is out of a traditional text, a traditional physics text. Look at what this says. This says if you change the electric field, that you will change the way the atom behaves, and there's actually a name for this. It is called the Stark effect.
Stark effect.
So if you change the electrical...
Hold on. Stark effect. It's called the Stark effect. Remember the movie Iron Man? He owns Stark Industries.
Field, the Stark effect, you change the atom, or if you change the magnetic field, it's called the Zeeman effect, you change the atom. So all this is saying is that science knows today, if you change the electrical field or you change the magnetic field, you change the atom. Okay, that's good?
If you change the magnetic field, you change the atom. That's the same thing we do over the water. We change the magnetic field, but through our heart. See, we're thinking we got to create some shit in here. We got to have it mentally here. No. I'm becoming to understand that this is a total different entity besides this. This is a total different entity. Totally different. You know what I mean? Totally 100 is stupid. So I'm going to stop saying 100 because if that's as a multitude of numbers out there, why would I say 100? You understand? That's not source. You know? I'm learning to, drop all these things that's not source. So I know right then that I'm building new tissue. I'm building new cells. I'm building new brain cells. I'm opening up new pathways. I'm not stuck on this tradition and going along with what they say. You know? When we get together, it's a laboratory here, man. All that textbook shit is beneath us. All them energy signatures is beneath us. You know, you can't have God body if you don't have God mind. Okay? You can't have God body if you don't have God mind.
Okay, watch what happens. What organ in your body produces the strongest electrical field in your body? Guess. Okay? See, I told you would like this.
Let me set him down for a minute.
Okay, our world is made of electrical and magnetic energy. The atom. And the science says if you change the electrical field or you change the magnetic field, you change that atom. Okay, there is one organ in your body that produces the strongest electrical field and the strongest magnetic field in your body. Here's a clue. I'll give you a clue. Right there. Your heart. And it's where you have the feeling. The feeling that you had when you saw the baby girls. That feeling that we call a feeling is actually creating waves of electrical and magnetic energy in your heart that changes your body and changes your world. But you don't have to know that because you simply have a feeling.
James Brown, I got the feeling.
Understood.
But you always
What
get the
they
feeling.
left in their temples, in their texts, in the monasteries, in the language of their time, they understood this. Our heart, look at this. The human heart produces the strongest electrical and magnetic fields in the body. Some people said the brain. The brain does produce these fields, but look. The heart's electrical field is 100 times stronger than the brain. 100 times stronger than the brain. The heart's magnetic field is up to 5,000 times stronger than the brain's magnetic field. And the references, the technical references, I won't read them here. They're on the website, my website, if you would like the technical references. But you see what's happening here. Our heart produces the fields that change our world and change our body. Can you see that so far?
I'm stopping right there. See, a lot of that textbook and a lot of things that we so blindly go into only because they got a good, I mean, anybody can, if somebody put up 9 fighters and you want to pick on them fighters and you go and look at those fighters, you're going to pick the best suitable one to fight. I mean, that you think is going to win. But see, you're picking from what they put up there once again. You understand? So when you go to so trustingly involve your energy in something that actually you have the ability yourself to bring exactly no matter what you want to an existence. But see, we take the knowledge here and we thinking, okay, we know this, we know that, but ain't no feeling here. And this is the center, just like the pyramid. It's got that pi place, right? Pi never changed from that position. It stays the same. So it's always here. We thinking it's all up here. Oh yeah, it constitutes all that. But pi is center of the Merkaba, which is your heart. So all the technical knowledge that we got there, it seems right that it will be right to follow this astrology and all that type of shit, but then you find out it's a hologram. Then you find out that it's just reference points that let you know inside how far certain cells is away from this. And projection to what you see out there is making a reference to your inner self, not no outer self, okay, period. Nothing. And if anything exists out there and it shows that an alien comes through or some moves right here, it's meaning something is moving in your heart. The energy has resulted or consulted or came about, moved about. You understand? Like a bowel movement, whatever. You see that in the stars. And however you want to position it, you'll be correct. As long as you base it in within you. But to the point is that these choices that you choose to continue to utilize as if it can be right, none of these are right. None of these are right. You control the most powerfulest. No. Let me redo this. That part. When you think here, you only adding figures. Here, numbers, figures, and shit don't exist. You don't feel that shit that you be thinking about. And if you do, you manifesting it. Meaning, you thinking about being right in accord with something you've chosen. I'm going to get back to the study. But try to figure out this. Whatever you holding on to, whatever you trying to grab a hold to, saying you're this and you're that and you follow this astrology and I'm not going to give up on this, keep that all in mind and see where does it fit in with the truth within self, meaning the atoms and how they operate. Okay? You know, you finna find out for yourself. See where all that fit in. And it's only going to show you that that shit does not exist. And you are inside of a box, even if you choose any of that shit. Now, back with it.
Beliefs create the electrical waves. Beliefs change those magnetic waves. What you believe about yourself, what you believe about me, what you believe about your world, about your relationship to God, about peace on this earth, is creating what is happening on this earth. Right now, beliefs change our physical world. Beliefs change matter. Quantum possibilities, scientists tell us, exist as waves of energy. The waves are contracting and expanding. They're coming and they're going. These are the possibilities of your life.
I gotta show you all
Your perfect
this.
relationship. It's coming and it's going. Your abundance. Your perfect job. It's coming and it's going. Because the waves are always in motion. Okay, let me ask you a question. What would happen if the wave was not coming and was not going, if it was in one place? What would we call that wave if it's not coming and it's not going?
This is where you're messing your energy up at. Check it out.
Let's see what this would look like. Okay. Can you see this wave? It is pulsing, but it's not coming and it's not going. Can you see that? This is called a standing wave. A standing wave. It's not coming and it's not going. The possibilities, the quantum possibilities of your life
Remember,
are
these are
these
atoms.
waves that are
Waves.
coming and going. The standing wave is the reality. Okay? The quantum possibilities, the soup of all possibilities, are coming and going. But the reality of this world is a wave that is standing wave. It is not coming and it's not going. This is what atoms look like. Atoms are the waves that are stationary. Quantum possibilities are the waves that are coming and going. Okay, does that make sense so
Yeah, I
far?
was finna say that. You getting that?
Okay, because if it does,
Check it out.
you're going to like what happens next. And then it won't be so technical. If this makes sense, let me ask, our beliefs in our heart produce the standing wave. Your heart produces the wave that locks the possibilities into place. Your heart is what produces the waves that make atoms. It's what you believe in your heart is what locks the quantum possibility into the reality of this moment. Heart waves are standing waves. Now, this is important. We're going to work with our hearts this afternoon. I'm going to share with you an experiment. How many have heard of the very famous double-slit experiment performed in 1909? 1909. A couple. This is the experiment that began the ideas of quantum physics. It's a very important experiment. Look at what happened. Scientists in 1909 took a particle of matter called a photon. It's P-H-O-T-O-N. They have this photon right here. And they take this photon and they wanted to shoot the photon at this target. Before it could reach this target, it passes through one opening, through this barrier. Okay? So easy experiment. They take the particle, passes through the barrier, goes to the target. The particle acts like a particle. Everyone is happy. It's a good experiment. This is good. Okay? Then they tried the experiment again and changed one thing. They're using the same kind of particle, the same target. This time, the barrier has two openings. Now, they believe that the particle can only be in one place at one time. And they were not prepared for what happens in this experiment. This is a photon, a particle of light. It's the stuff our world and our bodies are made of. So they are experimenting with the stuff of reality is what they're doing. They take this particle, and they fire it, and it disappeared. And they said, what happened? The next time they saw the particle was at this target, but it's not a particle. It's a wave, meaning that it passed through both openings at the same time. The particle changed itself to accommodate the conditions. And this is actually a drawing. This is from the actual science notebook of 1909, showing what these waves look like. This is a mystery. So the scientists are asking the question, why did this happen? They're saying the particle began as a particle. It began as matter. But look at this. It behaves like a wave. It behaves like energy. And they're asking why. Why does the particle change? They asked this question. They said, who knows that there are two openings possible for that particle? The scientists in the room know. The particle knows. But the particle can't know anything. And the scientists, they say, well, we know, but that cannot possibly have an effect on reality, can it?
Yes, because they knew.
So here's the question.
So it was connected to them already. So it knew exactly what to do.
Available. The scientist,
I'm going to set this down.
and the particles. This
is
the answer to our question here. Because what the scientists discovered is that their knowledge, the scientist's consciousness, was affecting the particle in the experiment. The fact that the scientists knew that there were different openings affected the way the particle works. Does that make sense? Are you okay with that? Here's why that's important. It's because they are showing that their consciousness is affecting our physical world, and they were showing it in 1909. The observer changed the particles of our world. The observer changed the particles. John Wheeler, Princeton University, made this statement. He said, we had this old idea that there is a universe out there, and that here is man, the observer, safely protected from the universe by a 6-inch slab of plate glass, as he calls it. This is John Wheeler saying this. He says, now, however, we learn that to even observe an electron, we have to shatter that plate glass, We have to shatter the plate glass. So the old word observer simply has to be crossed off the books. There are no observers. The scientist in the room affected the particles. There are no observers. You are not an observer in the universe. By being in this world, you are having an effect on this world all the time. John Wheeler says we must cross the word observer off the books and put in the new word participator. Participator. We are all participating in what is happening. This is John Wheeler. Now that was in 1909. This experiment was repeated again in 1998 in Israel. The Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel. Look at what happened. They repeated the experiment. They got the same results. They got the same results, but look at this. They found something even more interesting. They found the experiment revealed that the more the observers watched the particles, the greater the effect. The scientists in 1998 discovered that the more we watch our physical world, the greater the effect we're having on our world. Just by being present in the world. In the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, this is a quote from the text, it says the same thing, that reality exists only where the mind creates a focus. Reality exists only where the mind creates the focus. Well, this is interesting, because if our reality exists only where our mind creates a focus, the question is, what are we focused on today? So let me ask you, since 9/11 happened, September 11th, 2001, what has been the focus of so much of the world? One word. What is that word? Fear. Fear. The point is this, that through our media, we are being conditioned to fear. We're given many things to be afraid of. The environment is changing. New viruses, new diseases are happening. They say there are many bad people in the world, that the weather patterns are changing, and that very bad things can happen in our world. If our focus is what creates the world around us, and this is where our focus is, what kind of world are we creating? But we can change this. You can change it very, very quickly. Right now, the ancient traditions say that you and I are living an important moment in history where we are choosing either war or peace for our future. And this is why a day like this is so important, because we're learning the language of our heart to make that choice. The language of our heart to make that choice. So we ask the question, who are we? We are reality makers.
I am, because we are.
We're all reality makers. But the key is that we can make only what we believe in our hearts. If the world is based in our beliefs, then the question is, what do you believe about yourself?
And to believe yourself to be something that you create the opposition to is not really knowing who self is. Why would you believe self to be just one thing